One of the most well-known and ancient rivers in the world is the Nile. It allows people to live in parts of Egypt that would otherwise be inhospitable. Unfortunately, due to its tributaries and channels drying up, this river is slowly dying, threatening the livelihoods of millions who rely on its pleasant waters. The Nile is often referred to as the country's lifeline, and rightfully so, because it is the country's only source of water. Some of this is due to the river's natural cycle, where portions of the Nile have previously dried up, resulting in the demise of entire towns such as ancient Meroe. However, a big building project upstream might also harm the river's life even more. In today's video, we will look at why Egypt's lifeline is drying up. Make sure to like our video, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Egypt is a large country covering over 1 million square kilometers, but only about 3% of its landmass is habitable, with the remainder being an endless desert. Given its population of over 20 million, the vibrant megacity of Cairo is often referred to as the capital of the Arab world. The Nile is the only water source. It didn't start in Egypt. Its origins are traced beyond the borders of Egypt. Nearly 7,000 kilometers to the south are where the White and Blue Niles are fed by sources near Lake Victoria and the Ethiopian highlands. The Simien Mountains in Ethiopia are the source of around 60% of the water that flows into the Nile. Almost all Egyptian population lives around its banks. For thousands of years, the river has served as a source of irrigation, transforming the dry plains into fertile agricultural land. The Nile has always played an important part in Egyptian life, allowing people to live in the desert by providing drinking water, irrigation, and most crucially, fertile soil for growing food to feed the population. The Nile also provided an ideal means of movement for goods and people, leading to the creation of boats and other water transportation systems. Throughout history, using the Nile to trade with other countries has proven to be easier and safer than land. Without the Nile, the journey from northern to southern Egypt would have been more difficult. The Nile stretches over 6,700 kilometers and is one of the few, if not the only, rivers that flow south to north, from the Central African uplands to the Mediterranean Sea. It's no surprise that some believe the Nile flows backward. Additionally, the Nile was critical in the development of Egyptian civilizations. Sadly, Egypt's lifeblood is in jeopardy. Farmers living along its riverbanks are struggling where the Nile once flowed freely, with the canals are slowly drying up. Farmers grumble that the Nile provides very little water. While things are slightly better in the winter, they receive no water during the summer. The Nile region has experienced this occurrence before. Ancient Meroe appeared extremely fertile 10,000 years ago, with grasslands, rivers, and lakes filled with water. Life was flowering, and everything was lush and abundant. But after some time, the environment became hotter and drier. People and animals had to move to more habitable places. The Ennedi Plateau is located around 1,500 kilometers west of northern Chad. This location had a subtropical climate with enough rain to maintain enormous lakes, and the Yellow Nile, the third primary tributary to the Nile, but has now vanished. What's left are a few water-filled subterranean tunnels. Aside from the atmosphere being drier, a mega construction project in Ethiopia has added to the Nile's water shortage. Ethiopia began construction on the Grand Ethiopian Dam, a $5 billion project, in 2011, aiming for it to be Africa's largest dam and putting an end to decades of food and water shortages in Ethiopia. Unfortunately, what was envisioned for good has resulted in a territorial dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia. Ethiopia's sale of surplus electricity to other nations in the area might generate $1 billion in desperately needed income each year. All of Egypt's neighbors are in support of the initiative, but it is escalating Egyptian worries. The only way for the Grand Ethiopian Dam to start delivering on the benefits promised to Ethiopia is by building a sizable reservoir to keep back river water that would otherwise flow into Egypt through the Nile. Conflict over this source of life has reached the point where leaders have made threatening statements. Media outlets have expressed their worries about a potential water war brewing over the Nile Dam. The dam will create a reservoir more than twice the size of the Hoover Dam's Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States. It will ultimately store 74 billion cubic meters of Blue Nile water. That's about 64 million acre-feet, or the amount of water needed to cover 100,000 square miles of land 1 foot deep. Filling of the dam is estimated to take anywhere from 5 to 15 years. During this period of fill, a new study in the Geological Society of America's journal, Today, reveals that the Nile's freshwater flow to Egypt may be cut by 25%, with a loss of a third of the electricity generated by the Aswan High Dam, Egypt's own massive dam on the Nile, completed in 1965, roughly 1,500 miles downstream. The Geological Society of America study, led by Smithsonian Institution geologist Jan Daniel Stanley, says Egypt faces serious countrywide freshwater and energy shortage by 2025. Agriculture in the Delta, which produces up to 60% of Egypt's food, could also suffer from shortages of irrigation water. The Geological Society of America's journal study makes it clear that the new dam in Ethiopia is only one of a series of environmental threats now facing Egypt. Rising sea levels, brought on by climate change, are the most obvious of them. Much of the Nile Delta is only a meter or so above sea level, and a 2014 analysis led by Asyut University geologist Ahmed Sefalasser predicted that a half-meter rise in sea level would shrink the delta by 19%, an area equivalent to all of metropolitan Los Angeles. That was the conservative scenario. If the sea level rises by 1 meter in this century, as many climate scientists think likely, a third of the delta could disappear under the Mediterranean. That analysis did not consider the likely effects of the significantly greater rise predicted by a 2016 study in Nature. Thankfully, the tension has subsided a little during the past few months, and Ethiopia and Egypt are now looking for diplomatic solutions. Ethiopia could reduce the immediate downstream impact by extending the time it takes to fill the reservoir. On the other hand, Egypt must invest in unique farming and irrigation systems that will reduce its water demand. Egypt's government has advised farmers to utilize more effective irrigation methods and plant crops that need less water. Like all large waterways, the Nile River is a fragile habitat that must be safeguarded by all surrounding countries. The Egyptian government must act fast and think of innovative ways for Egypt to have a sustainable supply of water. If you enjoyed this video, watch the next video on your screen, which looks at how rivers were built in Libya right under the Sahara. Gaddafi's unbelievable project. As always, give our video a like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting future videos.